First off, I want to reach out to the people in Vegas and express our deepest sympathy and our prayers as the entire country goes through this, very tragic thing that we all endured yesterday. Beyond that, big win versus Iowa. So now we get ready for another big emotional game, big rivalry game. So we got to maintain our emotion throughout the week and bring that to Saturday as well. Cannot have a setback in that area. Big rivalry game as well. Everybody understands that. I've looked and think you have a tendency to keep track of numbers on things like this, and I've always said that. And I think this will be my 17th season currently here at Michigan State with 6 as an assistant and now 11 as a head coach. So this will be the 17th time playing against people down the road there. So you tend to measure that thing. So offensively, do a lot of different things. I think they're very well coached, present a lot of different formations, use a lot of different people, personnel, etc. Had great success there, obviously. Good football team, very good football team this year as well. Defensively, again, same type of thing. A lot of different defensive formations and adjustments get on you. And obviously, defensively, they're doing very, very well throughout in the country ratings. I think they're number 1 in sacks. Winovich leads the Big Ten in sacks. Number 1 sacks in the country. Number 1 total defense. Number 1 against the rush. I'm not sure, maybe points as well. But very, very good players. Playing very fast. Special teams solid. And be a great challenge for us as we go down there. And we're looking forward to the opportunity. So I'll take questions.
Mark, how concerned are you about the running game? And obviously the winner of this game traditionally is the one that can run it.
Yeah, obviously you're very concerned that you want to try and make things work. You want to stay balanced. I think that's what we want to do in most football teams, and I think especially down the road, you want to stay balanced as well. So got to get our things going, our tailbacks going, our running game going a little bit better. But like I said on the call on Sunday night, the running game at every level is predicated on so many different things. Everything has to work in sync. If an offensive line is playing, if 4 out of the 5 guys are getting their job done, that's not going to be good because you need the 5th. If the fullback or the tight end is not in sync with it, that's a problem. If the running back's not seeing or have the vision on a cutback or something like that, that's a problem. So there's a lot of different reasons for things not occurring, not going as planned. The main focus is, though, that we've done it before. We need to continue to just find ways and do it. Iowa's been a difficult team to run against traditionally, and again, you saw that on Saturday night. But it all worked out, and we won the football game. So that's the bottom line. But yeah, I'm concerned about it, no doubt.
Speaking of concerns, kickoffs, not getting them into the end zone, how big of a deal is that? And do you eventually have to look to another kicker with so many on the roster?
You're asking me tough questions today, Hondo. I want to have faith in our kicker, but he's got to get the ball up and he's got to have a little bit better hang time. So, that is a concern as well, but we just keep on covering. Some of the problems have been in coverage as well, so it's systematic approach in terms of what we're doing. Sometimes they hit a counter on us, sometimes not, but you got to find ways. We got to have a better kickoff, better hang time, probably better hang time rather than so much into the end zone, a little bit better hang time. But we'll work towards it. We've got a couple guys that are working there too, but I'd like to keep number 8 in there, Scanlon in there, Brett in there.
Mark, when you look at how many young guys you have that have yet to play in this rivalry, is there a way to teach them that, and how do you, I guess, mimic the intensity that they're going to see both on their first road game down in Ann Arbor and also with the hitting in this game?
Well, I think that's the exciting thing, really. I mean, I think you get to go into a different environment. We've played 4 games at home. Now you get to go on the road. Be a lot of Spartans down there as well. It's a great venue. It's fun to play down there at times. Sometimes it's not, okay, but it goes both ways, I'm sure. In this type of game, I think for our young players, I think they get a sense of what's going on probably after the first or second snap. They'll figure it out. We talk about it. You can try and educate them about it, but at the end of the day, you have to experience some things to really feel it. But I think they'll feel it after a couple plays and they'll settle in. So it'll be important for them to do that, and I think they're looking forward to it.
Mark, a little bit along those lines, Brian got to play some in that game last year, obviously before he got hurt. How much does that help him going into a game like this to kind of know what it feels like already and not have to worry about that?
I think when you're a quarterback at any college football team, especially at this level, every play that you have is going to help you. So every play that he's had this season, every play that he's had last season, the experience in that game last season certainly helps him, and he can draw on those things and draw some strength from those things, and especially some experience.
There's a certain amount of
Yeah.
apprehension from both schools, I guess, about playing this game at night for the first time. Does that do anything or change anything for you from your standpoint?
Well, not really. I mean, we've been playing some games at night, in the past, but it's tough to wait around all day. Just they tell you where to show up, you show up and play. And that's got to be our MO. And I'm excited to watch our guys play this weekend.
And they're going to start John O'Corn at quarterback. How much are you able to know about him? Do you go all the way back to Houston to kind of see what he does, and what does he do well?
Well, I think you look at him more in terms of what he's done recently. I think he played pretty well, very well against Purdue. Threw for 300 yards in a little more than 3 quarters. So I thought he had a positive showing, and you look at what he's done throughout the season and any time he's played or at the spring game and those type of things. You draw on everything, all the information that you have, you just try and figure it out.
Mark, thinking back to the first time you beat these guys after the year, you'd made all those comments after the loss. What did that, do you remember what that felt like, the sense of satisfaction to do that in 2008? Can you put that into words?
Tough to put that into words. You had an opportunity to go down there. It was as much, that particular game was as much about responding after we'd gotten beat pretty decisively by Ohio State, very decisively by Ohio State, if you guys remember, if those who were here. And it was about showing up and playing at a higher level and playing at the level we needed to play to be successful in this conference. So it was a little bit about that. It was a little bit about going down there. I think we had not won down there since '68, I believe, as I remember. I look back, maybe. To do something that hadn't been done in almost 50 years was a good feeling for our football team. And that team ended up winning 9 games that year, and sort of set us on an ascent. The following year, I think, fell back a little bit, but then we won a Big Ten championship. So a lot of those guys in that year, they sort of built the foundation of what was to come.
He kind of stole half my question, but it's been 10 years since the little brother comment and your reaction. How do you think that's changed the dynamic of this series?
It really hasn't changed it for me. I mean, it's sort of still the same as far as how I've always approached it ever since I was an assistant here. I guess that's a rallying cry for some, but I just am who I am and just sort of react the way I react sometimes. So we get ready to play. They got a good football team, a great amount of respect for what they've accomplished down there. Always have had that, and my goal when I came here was to make that a rivalry. I think it's a rivalry. We'll leave it at that.
Mark, over here. A lot of coaches follow the every game is the same kind of mantra, and we treat every game the same, but you certainly don't make any bones about what this game means to you and the school and everything else. Do you think that, I don't know, special feeling that you have about it is part of the reason you've been so successful in this rivalry?
No, I think that's all coach talk, personally. I think coaches know what games are important. They understand. Now, they can stand up here and say, well, it's just another football game, but it's not. You play in a championship game, it's not just another football game. You play in a rivalry game, it's not just another football game. It just has more. It means more. It means more to your fans. It means more to your players on your team from the in-state or from that particular rivalry position, whatever rivalry game it is. It just means more. And I think it's great for college football. I think it's what makes college football in a lot of ways. I think people anticipate these games, look towards the schedule, and probably look at look at the season and as they're getting their season tickets and say, oh, we have that particular game, whatever it is, wherever you're at home this particular time. So I think that's pretty traditional across this country, and that's how we've approached it here. Doesn't mean that anybody else has to approach anything in this type of way, but that's how we've approached it here.
Coach, kind of following up on that here in the back.
Okay. Yeah.
Find me
I
eventually.
think these lights are sort of getting me today.
You know, you're talking about the rivalry and just kind of the magnitude of that. Now this being your first road game, how does that factor in, knowing you're going there with the rivalry and on the road for the first time with the young crew?
You know, I've always looked at things as being half full, not half empty. So it's a road game, but it's in the state of Michigan. So it really is it a road game? I don't know. It's the best road game we can have because it's in the state of Michigan, and we're going to have a lot of Spartans there. So we're only driving about 59 miles, I think, so that's not all bad either. So we keep a pretty standard approach to it in terms of how we travel this weekend, in terms of what we're able to accomplish here on Friday. So I don't know that it's certainly on the road, but I don't know that it could be worse. Let's just put it that way.
Mark, were you surprised at all that Jim yesterday said that Spate would be out and announced O'Korn would start? Those are kind of things coaches like to try to keep to themselves, I think, and leave it up to game time.
I think he took a pretty significant hit on the film, so I didn't know if he'd play or not, but you know, I just listen. I try not to react to things. I mean, I just know who's playing now, O'Korn, but I sort of anticipated that. I thought O'Korn played well in the game as well.
Does it change your prep at all? Would you have had to prepare for both if he hadn't announced that? Does it make it easier for you guys just to focus on the one guy?
No, I don't know if that changes who they are offensively or what they're going to call. I think they're sort of similar in a lot of ways. But you go back and look at things and try and dissect to see, but I didn't see their offense really change. I think he has experience. I think he's been in the system long enough that he probably is well versed in everything that they do. And he operated very successfully, I think, in it.
You named Jalen Watts-Jackson the man, the legend, after this game a couple of years ago, and Bobby Morse, I think, turned 52 this week, and people still talk about his run in 1984. Isn't that what this game kind of does? It stands out. If you perform in this game, you're almost a household name. Yeah, I think that games like this, you know, does do that for certain individuals when they're able to make a play in the game that you know, the T.J. Duckett or, you know, whatever game it is. It goes on the other side of things probably too. But I think that you're remembered. I think that's what these games give you. They give you a little bit of a legacy. And that's, again, why rivalry games, I think, are so good for college football. All good? This is beautiful. Get out of here. Oh. Okay.
Mark, you kind of touched on Brian and the things he's going to have to do. With his legs, how do you, I guess, keep him healthy, first of all, when he's running as much as he does? And secondly, when defenses try and maybe spy on him, what does that open up for him?
Well, I think that first of all, you know, his ability to create is a positive. We have to be smart with that. He has to be smart with it. I don't think there's any question that, you know, when you are that, you take some hits. But I also think when you're sitting back in the pocket and you cannot create with your legs, you're going to take more hits. So, I mean, it's, you know, I look at it as half full, not half empty. He's got to protect himself, and officials have to protect him in certain situations probably as well. And that gets done. But I think it's a positive, and it should be, it's something that helps us. I don't think it hinders us.
Mark, over here again.
Okay,
now.
There I am.
For a rivalry game, obviously you'd want to go in undefeated and #1 in the country, whatever, but for a rivalry game, do you almost like the idea of the underdog? They won last year, so there's that element too. People thought you guys would be down this year, so there's that element. Do you kind of like the setting that you've got going into this game?
Yeah, I've really never, again, I've never really thought of those type of things. I just, you got cards, you play with the cards you've been dealt. We're 3-1 right now. We can't change that. I wish we were 4-0, and I wish we were sitting there walking in the game nationally ranked and all that type of thing. But you got to earn that reputation, especially after last year. Got to climb back up that ladder, and that's our intent. So that's where our mindset is. And again, it's a road game. It's a rivalry game. I don't think we need to factor in and say, okay, we're the underdog or all that kind of stuff. We have motivation. They have motivation. Should be a great football game.
Coach, what did you see in your front seven defensively against Iowa, specifically the physicality that you might have liked to see going into this game against Michigan?
Yeah, I thought we tackled well. I thought we stayed square. We kept an edge. Again, if you're not getting reached or scooped, or we maintained pressure on a double team, played very well up front. Our linebackers ran well, and we tackled well. Which we knew we'd have to do going into that game, and we're going to have to tackle well. If we're going to play well defensively in any game, you got to tackle well. Got to play the ball in the deep part of the field. You got to match them up and affect their quarterbacks. So that's our mindset as we go into any football game. But I thought we played extremely well up front, and we won at the line of scrimmage, which you have to be able to do.
Mark, you guys are both top 5 in defense overall, total defense, both top 5 nationally, and I think passing efficiency defense, both really good against the run. Do you see a lot of similarities between your own team and Michigan, especially that, like you guys, they were starting a lot of new guys this year?
Yeah, there's some similarities, and then, obviously there's some differences, type of defense that they run relative to us, but there are some similarities, and, that's a positive thing right now for us because they played well last year. We needed to play better, so that's a positive. And again, we got to climb up that ladder. I think we're doing that, but we're one third through the season right now. So Game 5's coming, so we need to take that next step.
Forgive me, Ben, if I don't see this in the notes. Do you have an honorary captain yet for this game?
No, we do not.
Okay, you got to pick it yet.
Well, we may not pick one.
You may not have one? Okay.
Yeah.
Mark, there have been targeting calls in this game before with the ferocity both teams are going to play with. Do you have to remind your guys to just play on that line and not over it? And how difficult is that when sometimes the definition of it changes based on the plane of the ball carrier?
Yeah, I don't think anybody out there is going with the intent to hurt anybody. I've never seen that, especially recently. But there are hits that are, that get called that, I don't know. Sometimes, we're talking about split-second decisions and body changes and body movements coming into a football play, and it's difficult. So I think our guys need to play the game aggressively. They certainly will. But sometimes these things are going to happen. I think if there's some intent to take somebody out, it's going to get called. But I think the officials are doing the very best that they can. But I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, don't play hard to our guys. They know, they understand the rules, and we continually talk about that and emphasize how to tackle on those type of things, but sometimes things are going to just possibly happen, and hopefully it's prevented.
Coach, back here in the cameras, a lot of talk about Gerald on media day and his leadership and what he did to kind of rally the guys in the off season. I know the numbers aren't exactly there on the field right now, but has that continued with him? What have you seen from him, and what is he bringing to your team? Yeah,
Gerald Holmes has done a great job, I think, in a leadership capacity. Again, I treat all those guys like they're starting tailbacks, and like we've heard before, the numbers aren't really there yet, but it can happen at any point in time, and that's what we look for. But he's done a great job just with our football team, just sort of being consistent as much as anything with his message. Are you good, guys? All right, go green.